Oh, am I audible? Anyone from DataMites team? Please confirm that I'm audible. Okay. All right, cool. I will start the session in a minute. Hope the screen is visible as well. Can anyone confirm that? All right. Okay. The session is being recorded. And also it's been live streamed in LinkedIn and other channels. Welcome to session 3. My name is Ashok Veda. So I'll be, this is a part of a series of sessions about the data science interview tips, getting job ready. So in the previous 2 sessions, we talked about the skills required, the market ready skills for data science job. And that's the first session. This last session, we talked about the resume, how to prepare the resume. And in this session, we are going to talk about the job application strategy. This is an interactive session. The people who are directly online can put the questions or clarification in the chat box. If you are in other channels, YouTube, LinkedIn, put it in the comment box. Someone from the team will put it back in this webinar's chat box, so I'll be able to answer them. All right, so let's begin. So before I proceed, I want a quick confirmation from someone in the call. Is my screen visible as well? And there is no internet issues. Last time there were some issues. All right, thank you very much. All good. All right, good. Okay, so in the job application strategy, we actually start with identifying the right role. Because this is an evolving field, there are so many different roles. Some are technical, some are more on the leadership and management, some are into data, some are into programming and modeling and stuff. Interesting part is, if you see the job market, most of these job roles are called as data scientists. They call it as data science architect, associate data scientist, chief data scientist, or simply data scientist. But what you do as a data scientist might vary based on which phase of the project you are actually handling. You broadly know this diagram. If you're data science, you're already market ready for data science. You understand what are the different areas, the major areas of data science: analytics, business, and technology. Machine learning and other areas comes under technology part. And the business essentially talks about project management, delivery management, essentially delivering the project use case as required by the business. And the data part, we talk about process consultants, visual consultants, who primarily work on data, understand the patterns, insights, also align with the business side. So they are the people who get the solution, data science models solutions into the business. Okay. The first thing you need to start with when you're applying for a job is where do you fit in this broad spectrum of roles. Let's break it down one by one. Okay, so let's look into the technology part first, this part. There are different roles such as data engineers, data scientists. It's overlapping with analytics, but data scientists and data architects. Data engineers are essentially the people who collect the data, gather the data from various different data sources, including warehouses, databases, SQL databases, and other APIs and applications which generates data, sometimes even flat files, which is stored in the remote locations. So data engineers work on collecting this data, creating data pipelines, and then cleaning the data as required by the business case or the data science modeling, and getting it ready for the next phase, analyzing and further creating the models. So this is purely a data related job. So the people who want to pursue data engineer job must be very good with the data itself, all the related technologies, including database management, both SQL and NoSQL databases like MongoDB. They should be very good in big data, because nowadays most of the data you're storing are going towards big data. So you should be good with Spark, Hadoop distributed file system. How do you retrieve them? How do you manage the data clusters and all of these concepts? That's purely so it's more technical, I would say, and it's more to do with gathering the data and streamlining the pipelines. Nowadays, data engineers also required to also have a good idea about AWS, Amazon Web Services, data services, as well as Azure data services. When it comes to data architects, so they are a bit senior profiles. So I would say about 5 years plus to 10 years, 5 to 10 years, who have been working as an architect. They understand the data paradigm. So they might be a data engineer for quite some time and then learned to architect the data. So they are the one who is going to design how is data being retrieved, where it is stored, how it is processed, how should the data pipeline looking at. They look into the latency of the data as required for the business model, and to make sure that we are retrieving the data in a most effective manner, as well as required by the business case, and ensuring that data is not lost, and you always have redundancy plans to ensure that data flow is always established. Data architects are really important when you're talking about a real-time data analysis. Right? When the data comes in, your model is predicting something. So the architecture behind the data becomes really important. If it is in asynchronous, typically the data can be stored at some place, and we're doing a modeling asynchronously. So it doesn't. So data architect requires a bit senior profiles, and mostly someone from software architecture background, data warehouse background can target the data architects, of course, with the data science knowledge. Even data engineers, the first role we talked about, also requires a high level knowledge of machine learning and data science, right? Because they are the first phase of your data science project. Whatever they're collecting is going to be used for further modeling. Data scientists themselves are expected to analyze the data, find the patterns, and then design data science model, predictive models using machine learning. Usually they work with Jupyter Notebook kind of environment. They are very good with business case as well. So they understand what is being expected. They know the acceptance criteria. Let's say if you're doing a classification, we are looking at accuracy, classification accuracy, let's say about 98%, precision about 99%, recall not below 97%, whatever it is, an ROC, AUC scores. So these are the metrics you get as an acceptance criteria. So they design the model, fine-tune the model. As required, they also play with the features, transform them, right? And do the hyperparameter tuning, and then get the efficiency. Also select right machine learning algorithm. and play with lots of trial and errors to come up with a model which satisfies the business requirement. So that's a primary work of a data scientist. When they do it, they also work with the domain experts. If the business case is more requires domain expertise, let's say you're talking about fraud analytics in finance. So you need someone from the fraud analytics to work with you. If you're doing a cybersecurity related use case, you need a cybersecurity expert with a data scientist who can give the domain inputs to design this model as required by the business. So these are the three primary roles. And data scientists, there's always a question, juniors can apply for data scientists. As such, there is no such barriers about the seniority. Based on the kind of business case and projects you're involved, you always require junior data scientist to senior data scientist. It's always a team. So data scientist as such doesn't have any experience criteria. A beginners to an experience can join a team of data scientists. And then the analytics part. Visual analytics is essentially you're talking about BI tools such as Tableau, Power BI, etc. So their work is to understand the data and create reports and visualizations as required by the business. Typically, they're also the one to find the patterns. But if you look at the practical way of business analytics or visual analytics as of now, they are mostly working on the reporting and visualization side. Process consultants work with the business case process. For example, if you're doing a fraud analytics, process consultants essentially are the people who understand the entire flow of this transaction, the process of it. When someone does a transaction, how does it go? Where does it been approved? What are the different checks? And then how is the transaction happening? And who are the people and roles involved? So these are the people who understand the process, the business process, right? And they work with the data scientists to ensure whatever they're developing over here, it's fitting the process so that they can deliver the business value. Data analysts also are pretty much like data scientists, but they are mostly on the data analysis side. They don't really work on the predictive models, though not with the Python and programming and other things. Data analysts mostly work with the statistical techniques, and they also work on the finding the patterns and stuff. So if your business has purely structured data and you have to find the patterns and insights by looking at the descriptive analytics, data analysts should do the work. So those are the different roles. So analytics side is mostly non-technical, but more on the data on the business side. And the top sections are essentially business leaders and delivery managers, and there might be many other roles. In fact, we have a new roles coming in. We can call with any names, chief data scientist or any other name, but essentially they are the people who are acting as a catalyst. I don't have my stylus, I'm writing with my mouse, but I'm going to describe it. Catalyst. So this is a kind of like a new role, but I won't say it's really a new role. It's been like 1.5 years. We are looking for people like this. Most companies actually. This role is essentially going to act like a glue between the business and the development and the data science team, right? It's a connection between it. The purpose, like in fact, the need for this role arises because many companies have set up their data science team. They have hired few data scientists, they hired the practice managers, and then they tried out few use cases, low-hanging fruits or ideas, whatever they have, and they have been successful, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really show on the bottom line of the company. So the data scientists and the team itself are very expensive. They are high-paid resources. So the cost side, they're incurring a lot. But how is that affecting your overall business? The bottom line, they couldn't really justify the bottom line. At least they're struggling to justify the bottom line. The reason this happens is because the business priorities, the strategic goals, which includes taking advantage of new opportunities using the technology, also ensuring the threats are not realized. You're also up to the mark with the disruptive technology so that your business model is not threatened. Someone is not taking your market share, right? These higher business priorities should actually come down as use cases and then further filtered into the low-hanging use cases, which can deliver the most return on investment. And these use cases has to be convert into data science projects, and then they have to deliver. The link between the business and the data science team is not very strong. The data science team directly reaching the business people trying to get it, it's not very easy way of getting the right business cases and projects. So we need a role typically called as catalyst or a chief data scientist or senior data scientist, whatever. They will be acting like a link between the business and the data science. Their whole purpose is to align the data science work towards the business objectives, the strategic objectives, the goals of the business, right? So typically these folks are senior people, at least 10 years experience, recommended, 15, 20 years of experience in various business roles, techno-functional roles, understand the business as well as the technology, understand data science very well at a high level so that they can realize certain business goals. They understand which business goals, which strategic directions data science can really help, right? And what kind of data we are looking for to realize this one. And then they can translate the objectives of the business into a data science project, of course, in multiple steps, and thereby, and also pushing it, prioritizing this project, getting the delivery, putting it back to the business and show the business value. And this is a really important role. Someone out there who want to get into a data science domain, who are very seniors, have done the techno-functional roles with 15, 20 years of experience. That's the kind of role you're looking at. All right. So there are other roles, other areas which we can discuss. This a very high level, right? And based on your background, your experience, you should be able to figure out which role you actually fit in. And that is your first step in your job application strategy. Okay. And then we move on. All right. So this is more about fine-tuning a resume for each job. In the last week session, we talked about how do you fine-tune a resume. We spoke about essentially matching the resume with the job keywords, right? So here, because once you finalize the role, you need to find a right jobs roles from whatever forums and portals. LinkedIn, for example, is becoming one of the major channel for hiring data scientists. So you look into the jobs, not just the title, but the description, understand what they are looking at. Are they looking at more of the initial phase data engineering, data analysis kind of roles? Are they looking for people who are actually going to model these predictive models, machine learning models? Are they looking for people who are deploying and maintaining these models? Are they looking for more managerial, techno-functional roles? Are they looking for leadership roles or catalyst roles? So you need to understand what exactly this role, right? Not by looking at the title, because most of the time title talk about senior data scientist, associate data scientist, etc. You look at the job roles, responsibilities, then you decide what kind of role it is. And then you see if this is the role you're looking for, right? And then you match your resumes to that particular job description. Very similar to what we've discussed in the last week's session. Research and apply. And this is a very important tip or the strategy, I would say. I have seen people, most of the people actually, just apply for all the jobs they find. It's like shooting blind. So you just, you select a certain criteria, you click apply, assuming that, something will come back, then we'll take seriously and look into it. Well, you might apply a lot of jobs, maybe hundreds of jobs per day, because you are just blindly shooting it. You have a standard resume and you're just shooting it blindly. I'm not denying it might actually come back with some positives, right? But more better is to do the research properly. Even though if you apply few jobs, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 jobs a day, you research the job properly. What is the job requirement? What are the responsibilities? What are the roles? Do you have a skills to fit it? Fine tune your resume and apply to the specific jobs which fits your role. And not just you have the skills, but also it's all the requirements are there. You have the capabilities and all the credentials, right? And you apply. This is a better, even though you apply few jobs, much less than what you do with otherwise blindly shooting it. you have a higher chance of conversions. And not just conversions, because it's not just you're looking for any job, a job. You're looking for the job you like to work for, right? So you can only land on a job which you really like if you do the research before you apply for the job. So rather than applying a lot of jobs, maybe hundreds of jobs blindly, I would suggest apply for a few jobs, do a proper research, and also keep a track of the job. I think that's the next step. All right, so next one is job portals and company pages. So essentially, most people apply in the hiring portals, right? Mostly it's Monster Jobs, or you have LinkedIn is becoming very popular. In India, you have Naukri and other portals. And depending on your region, there are a lot of job portals, right? Job listing portals. That's a good place to look into it. You'll have several, but it's also very important. And also sometimes it actually makes more sense. Look for company pages. You decide what kind of company you want to work for, right? You want to work for a product company, a service company using artificial intelligence or data science, or do you want to work for a software integrated companies like JAINx, like, you have Infosys, you have Capgemini, many other Indian companies. Also, a lot of global companies who are into IT services, right? So do you want to go with an IT services where you work with multiple clients, several projects, or you want to join a product company, for example, a Robert Bosch, for example, right? And many other product companies, even Apple, right? Facebook, for example. So you want to join a product company, you want to join a service company. You decide which is your area you want to work. Choose top 5, top 10 companies in this area, or the companies you like, right? Watch the job portals, job pages, the company pages. So every company in their in their corporate website, they also have a job posting section, right? And when you apply through that, I could tell you from my own experience, we actually give a little more preference because you have come to our portal and you apply to the portal. So your application will be taken a bit more serious, and the chances that it get lost in a huge flood of applications is less. So watching out the job portals, the company pages, it's also important. So don't miss to check the open opportunities of your target companies. Okay. Another thing I normally suggest is follow-up of your applications. A lot many people don't do that, right? When I was applying for my initial career jobs, I used to do that, and it actually paid off most of the time to get serious response, because we get a lot of applications, hundreds, thousands, based on the kind of jobs we post, right? Usually it goes to an automatic filtering, and then one person calling you and checking your availability, and then further interviews. From automatic filtering, more than 70% applications are filtered out based on the volume of job applications you receive, right? If you follow up, let's say, right, you just send a follow-up mail to the concerned person, HR. In LinkedIn, most of the time, you also see who is the person that posted the job, and you can actually follow up on the LinkedIn directly through the message. Or if there is an email, you can also send an email. So if you're checking that what's the status of my application, the chances that your application is picked up in the first or second filtering is very high. Even though it is missed out for whatsoever reason, we'll go back and take a second look. And we do the evaluation. In our company, though we are a small company relatively, when someone is checking their application status, following up with us, we give a much more priority because they are not the blind shooters. So they haven't applied 100 applications. If you are doing a blind shooting of applying hundreds, you can't really track and follow up. So when you follow up your job application, it already shows that you have a specific particular interest into in that particular job or on the company. So you have a better chances and you'll be given a better priority in terms of the selection process. So to track your application, you can maintain a simple spreadsheet, right? And then follow up on your application regularly. When you apply today, after a few days, drop a follow-up mail. It could be a simple one-liner, but that will have a significant influence on your filtering process, your job for the filtering process. All right. So network for references. Let me tell you, it differs between culture to culture, country to region to region. Most of my initial career was in Netherlands. In Netherlands, uh, everything is references. So you have good connections with the people working in the companies. They refer to the corresponding departments. And also, if there is a job related to your skills, they will come back and help you, right? It varies between the culture, but overall, I would say network for references is really professional networking really pays off. If you're open for a job, you're looking for a job in a certain data science, do network. Nowadays, we have LinkedIn kind of tools, which are very easy to find the relevant people, senior folks, right? Decision makers, managers, HRs who are hiring for a specific data science or analytics roles, right? You can directly connect them, keep the link active, see if they're attending certain events. You go to the events, right? And see there are general events where a lot of senior managers, decision makers come in. Go meet them, say hello, and then send a LinkedIn message. They remember you, right? So the job requirements actually don't come from like unknown place. They come from these people. They are the business people. They're the decision makers. They are the people who are running the projects or conceptualizing the use cases, hiring people, right? If you have a good, strong professional network, people will always reach you out or refer you for other jobs in their network. And you get a much better preference. You might get a better job or you land up in a job which you really wanted to work, right? Professional network significantly increases your chance of landing into a dream job, the job which you like to work. So professional network, if you haven't done it, then I would say it's a topic by itself. How do you do a professional networking? You can even search in Google. There are so many videos and articles, blogs published. What I would say is focus on professional networking, and it pays. It pays really well, and it becomes really important when you're looking for a very niche jobs like data science and those kind of jobs, data scientist kind of jobs. Professional networking really helps. Okay. Yeah. So that's about today's session about job application strategy, which is the third session. And the next session, we'll talk about interview tips. Okay. So now I have time for questions from various channels. DataMites team can help me to get those questions. The students in the loop. All right. Okay. Okay. So we also have some people have attending interviews from DataMites students who are now attending job interviews. So we'll also ask them to share their experience of job interviews and try to reflect on it. And accordingly, we will see, can learn from their experience. I'll start with Atif Ansari. Atif, see if you can unmute yourself. Atif, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Atif, good afternoon. Can you also turn on your video if that's possible?
Right now, it is not possible, sir.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, good afternoon, sir. I am Ashok Veda. I did mechanical engineering and worked in that domain for more than 4 years actually. That I decided towards data science.
Your voice is going off and on, Atif.
Now is it good, sir?
Yeah, it is better now.
Yeah. So, sir, I am Atif Ansari. I basically did mechanical engineering. After that, I worked in mechanical domain for some years. Then I decided to transform my career towards data science. I just wanted the transformation to be smooth. That's why I joined the DataMites. And actually, I'm from 31st January batch. The batch started on 31st January. Yeah. Actually, I got 4 opportunities from DataMites to give the interview. So my first interview was with Nuance AI. for the
Mhm.
position of machine learning engineer, ML engineer. Actually,
Okay.
the interview was good. That was the final round I attended. The interview was overall good, but I think there were two questions where I think I lacked that interview or I lost that interview. Uh, If I could, I just want you, if you could help me in those questions, please.
Yeah. Shoot me.
So,
Go ahead.
the first
What was the
question was, actually they gave me an NLP project to
question?
complete and submit them. I completed that project. Okay, so I was doing some sentiment analysis on that project. So when we get the sentiment scores, there were four scores: positive, neutral, negative, and compound score. So they asked me the question that how the compound score is calculated on with the other three scores.
Come again. How the components?
when we when we when we predict the sentiment analysis, when we do the sentiment analysis, we got four scores: the positive score, the negative score, the
Correct.
neutral score, and the compound score. So they were asking how the compound score is calculated on the basis of other three scores. If it
Which
is a
package you are using? NLTK or any other package?
NLTK, NLTK, sir.
Okay. So did
Yeah.
you able to answer that?
No, I was not able to answer that. I just said that it could be mean of other three. I also tried to check it online, but I didn't get the answer, the exact answer. I tried to check it online. And sir, the other question was
Okay.
basically
Right. So let's first you didn't get the answer for that for the compound score.
yes,
You could have checked in the NLTK itself because you have NLTK, one of the modules here in NLTK. If it gives a compound score, this usually uh, it should be an average. But when you have a score, you don't have a negative score or positive score. You just have a score, right? The
right,
sign of the score is what we take it as a negative or positive. Let's say you have a minus 0.8. It means it has a minus roughly 80% negative connotation, right? So the
right,
sentence is 80% negative. If you have a zero point 0.4 plus 0.4, it means it's 40% positive. So it's not very positive. It is positive at about 40%, mid of it. And zero is considered as a neutral. And sometimes zero comes in because your model couldn't understand the question. So if it doesn't understand the question, does not understand the question, it becomes zero. So it doesn't really have a negative score or a positive score. It basically have one score, and you decide based on the sign of the score, is it a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment, right? I would suggest you go back to the NLTK, look at the module you're talking about, and you will have the clear details about what is the output and what is the significance, the details of the output, description of what exactly each and every output value means. Okay.
okay, sir.
Right. And I really don't think that would be a problem for your job selection because as a recruiter, I don't really mind to know the nitty-gritties of whether you understand a certain module's output value. Definitely no, right? I will
Yes, sir.
rather test you on a high level, whether you understand the concept and you understand how this works, and do you have experience working on a certain package,
Okay.
right? Okay. What is the next question? Please go ahead.
Sir, the next question was, I did the feature engineering, and in that feature engineering part, what I did there was I want to create a prediction model. So to create that prediction model, I wanted to drop some column. So I dropped that column, which I used to calculate the sentiment analysis, and I directly took the sentiment score on that uh, for
Okay.
for the for the creation of model. So I want to ask if it is a correct approach or not, because he was very much happy with that thing.
See,
Yeah,
when you derive a variable or you use a variable and get a score or whatever it is from it, typically we drop the actual variables because actual variables becomes redundant, right? If you
right,
look
sir.
at correlations or if you look at any other feature importance or whatever, right? The primary variables which you use for deriving further, like derived variables, right, will be very highly correlated. I'll give a very simple example. Let's say you calculated your BMI, body mass index. Your data
Okay.
set might have your height and weight and some other parameters. Let's say you're looking at the chances of you getting a heart attack or a heart disease, all right? So they'll have a lot of other parameters, your age and your gender, etc. And then you also have your height and weight, physical things, right? Let's say you have calculated your body mass index, BMI, which is essentially calculated by using weight and height. There's a formula. I think it's height divided by weight square or something, right? Once
Right,
you
sir.
have the BMI score, you don't need a weight and height because BMI is a reflection of weight and height. We simply drop the weight and height and we use BMI for further analysis. So that's why he's happy. That's a standard practice we do.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much. Is there any questions you wanted me to? You attended 4 interviews, right?
Right, sir.
Not just
Uh,
question. You can also say, tell me if you find it something tough, right? Any situation where you found it difficult to answer, you've been cornered. So
Sir,
tell
I think there's a specific situation that is not technical, if I could ask to you.
me. Go ahead.
Actually, sir, as I told you, I have 4 years of experience in mechanical domain. Okay, so I have every interview there's a question for me that why you want to switch your domain towards the data science. I researched a lot. I just framed the answer, but I think they are not satisfied with my that
What's
answer.
your answer? First, tell me your answer. Then I'll say whether I'm satisfied or not. Tell me your answer.
So
What's your answer?
actually, sir, I connected it with some of my work which I was doing in my past. Okay,
Mhm.
so in during that work, there was a data science firm which uses our data and created a model basically. And I found it that time only I get to know about the data science field. So I also after researching about that, then I tried to transform my career towards that. So I just tried to frame those things together so that get a better answer of that, but
Okay.
I couldn't make it a very good thing or just
Okay. Let
just
me
because,
let, let me try to answer this. Right.
yeah, yes, sir.
I myself started as a power engineer, right, and then I moved into analytics. I did my MBA in analytics. So, and a lot of people do. When
Yes, sir.
someone asks, "Hey, why are you switching your domain?" The first thing we would like to see, or whether you should not feel, is guiltiness. Many people think changing domain is is a very
Right,
bad thing. It is not, right? You
right,
might start because you have your academic profile is into chemical engineering and you started your career as chemical engineering, which is good. You could discover that your skills and interests are somewhere else, right? You suddenly find that in one of the cases, you find you like playing with the data, right? You can also be very honest. Data scientist is a better career. It pays higher salary. You have a global opportunities. So when you say that, you say, hey, I like chemical engineering, right? If you like, if you don't like, you can say so. Just being honest is the best way to get a higher scores in interviews. Being honest, integrity plays a very important role. So if you like or don't like, you can say the same. And you can tell about data science. I like data science because I like data. I'm more analytically, I have more better analytical skills. I am a good problem solver, right? And also data science provides me with the higher salaries, better opportunities, global opportunities. And that is a good answer. So
okay,
most of the time we ask this question to check whether you are coming here, off-heartedly, right? Maybe you failed there and you're coming here, or you're coming here with a different motive. Do you have a clear mind is what we want to check. And also we
okay,
would like to check your integrity and honesty when you say that. So being very honest about your own domain and why you come to data science is very simple. It's high salaries, interesting work, and you have a better opportunities. You can say that in that terms. That's all. That should be fine. Okay.
right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Atif. I have another participant. Let me, Ramyasri. Ramyasri, you should be able to unmute yourself. And if it is okay, you can switch on your camera. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Ramya, good afternoon. Please go ahead.
I'm Ramya Shri from batch 7th March, online batch. So till now through patch services, I have applied for 14 jobs. So from there, I have shortlisted or my resume is shortlisted for 4 interviews. So in that, I have a couple of questions. So
Yes.
first one with the neurons AI, sir. The first one with the objective type questions, which is like 6 sections where I feel better with data warehouse, data science, Python, and SQL, but I faced difficulties in A and ML because we don't have practical knowledge on that. Since I have 1.5 year experience in Python and SQL. So in that question, sir, most of them are based on graphs and situation. So may I get any suggestions to prepare well for these kind of questions, sir? Because we are good at theory, like as we are
What is
listening at
that?
an
Graphs?
and situation based, sir.
Oh, okay. Have you completed? You're from March batch, right? So you should be
Yes, sir.
already done your projects
Yes, sir.
as well as a live project.
Yes, sir.
So whenever you get a situation-based question, you always fall back to your live project, the one you have done, right? It could be, I don't know what are the current live projects you guys are doing, but some of the projects from our own projects from Dell and others are extended to DataMites, the live projects which we deliver for our clients, right? So
Yes.
these projects, when you do it as if you are fully involved in a team. Sometimes it is live, like directly you're working with clients. Sometimes you're redoing the project, whatever it is. Most of the cases, these are real projects. So if you do with a full enthusiasm with your team and develop a solution and check with the client and you have an entire experience, you keep referring the same project. When they talk about how do you clean the data, you tell a bit of theoretical part of it, like, how do you do the missing value, this, that, transform the data, look at the normality, etc. But you quickly switch to the project and you talk about in that project, we were doing this, we faced these challenges, and we came over the challenges by using these techniques. So you should have a very good story. You should prepare a very good story. I mean, you already practice, so you know the knowledge. But when when it is about interviews, it's about the presentation in a shortest manner possible, right? So you should come up with a clear narration of the concepts which you have learned and the concepts you applied on the project, right? And how did you use the theoretical concepts in the project and deliver the solution? Not only when they talk about situations, even they ask about an individual question about, let's say, explain the classification, different metrics or whatever. You quickly switch back to the project and explain in there. When we ask these questions, what you like to test from the candidate is whether this candidate have an hands-on experience, right? Or just a theoretical part of it. Because if you're only a theoretical part, which is good, most people start from there, but there's a lag time. When you join the organization, you might take several more months to really get up to the speed, isn't it? And most of the
Yes.
companies cannot afford that. When they hire a resource, they would like to, at least the learning time should be shorter, preferably few weeks to a month, not more than that. So when they ask about a contextual question, what they're trying to understand, do you have a real project experience? It might be a small internship project, but do you actually participate in the project, did the work, and gather the experience so that when they put you to another project or their whatever own clients, your learning curve will be less. So you'll be ready to deliver in a shorter span. So my answer to you, to direct answer to you, come up with different scenarios you have faced when you have done the projects with the data science live projects or DataMites live projects, whichever they provided, right? You would have worked with 3 people. That's how they construct it, right? So you make a groups and you work in a group. So you should also able to tell about the group working nature. Like someone has done this and you have worked with them, taken their work. So come up with several pre-made scenarios which you have already experienced, but put it in a nice words and be ready with them. And the situation will definitely come. They will definitely ask the contextual questions or they ask some theoretical questions. You always link it back to these project scenarios and explain them. And if you already do it, like in the theoretical questions itself, they might not even ask the contextual questions because they already, pretty comfortable. They are convinced that you have delivered the project. So if you start doing it from the first of even for all the concepts and questions linking to the project and explaining the situations, you may not get an explicit situation questions.
And thank you, sir, for that question. And I have another question.
Yes, please.
So yeah, the company was Cobalt System for the role software engineer or data engineer. So here we have to submit the assignment and using Google Analytics. It's a new topic for me. And by following tutorials and the links provided by the Cobalt, I have created service ID, client ID, and secret key. So when I try to extract their data, I was getting system exit error. So, and also I have raised the questions on D-Tribe, discussing with that Charlie ma'am, as she suggests. So I have, as per suggestions,
DataMites community, you mean?
yes, sir, yes, sir. So I have applied the solutions, but still I was stuck and I dropped that part, sir. So in this case, how can I move further, sir?
Yeah, I'm surprised that you couldn't get it. So maybe the client themselves have a problem because they wanted you to connect to a certain service. They have provided you the essentially the secret key and the public key for you to connect to the service, and the connection is not happening, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it could be a technical issue with the service itself. And in this scenario, you should actually ask the client, because the idea is not to just to connect, because that could go anywhere wrong. So you are ideally supposed to ask the client directly that the connection is not happening, right? Because they expected you to actually maybe reach them out if something goes wrong, and you get the data, do the assignment or something, whatever they asked. I didn't know the actual project, and submit it back. You are saying that you just stopped at the connection itself. So that is not what they're testing you. Maybe you have an idea that they're testing my knowledge of getting connected. Connections could be normally simple. They have a good documentation usually most of the time. If there's a problem with the service itself, maybe there's a technical problem from their side. You should have contacted the client that the connection is not happening. All right.
Yes, sir.
Because the service is hosted by them in Google Analytics. So if you are not able to connect, they should be able to help, not the outside people, because we don't know what it is. So maybe you should have contacted them. Next time this happens, no one will test you from a connection perspective, because connection documents are strictly, they'll give a snippet, they'll give a exchange codes, secret code and public key and secret key, and it should work. And if it is not working, maybe the problem is on the client side itself, right? And you should have asked the question within the assignment time itself, and they could have clarified it, and then you'd have gone ahead and did the further data. So next time this happens, also let me know. I'm available on the LinkedIn, so we should not have this opportunity, right? You just ping me on the LinkedIn. I'll be able to help you on that. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right. I hope that's the questions. We do have other questions. All right. So we have questions from other channels. There's a question from I don't know where. It says, do we need to change the career objective based on the job roles? Okay, so I didn't really understand the question. Career objective, what kind of objective you have? Right? You want to become a data scientist, right? Work in certain companies. If you are very specific about this is the kind of job I want to do. I want to stay on the analytics side. I want to stay on the modeling side. I want to stay on the, I don't know, data part. I really love the data part, right? Based on your interest, you choose a job role and then you apply, not the otherwise. Right? You don't change your career objectives, and the career objectives usually on the higher level, right? It doesn't have details. What's your career objective? Someone asks. I want to become a data scientist, work for a reputed company, add value to the business, and grow, whatever pace I want to grow. So answer is, you don't have to change the career objectives. Make sure that you apply for the job roles which you wanted to go for. I have a question from LinkedIn, which says, can we get a few data science sample resume? Yes, I think we have sample resumes. You can directly drop a mail to care@datamites.com. I think someone from the LinkedIn channel from DataMites team can post that in that comments list, or the reply to that one. And they will send you a bunch of resumes, which we use it for, also using for our own students to place them in the jobs. There are a few resumes for junior folks and medium experience and senior folks from different domains. You can get it for free. Just request DataMites team. Any other questions? All right, great. So that's all I hope this session is helpful. We'll have a next session, and that will be on the interviews. I wish you all the best. Thank you.